Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
So we're good. Okay. All right. Good evening and welcome to the Bellows Falls Village Trustees, our regular meeting, only one for the month of July during the summer schedule. It is Tuesday, July 14th. I believe it's like 6:01. And we are down here in the Rockingham Lower Theater, but those who wish can, of course, access us through Zoom. Of course, if you were not here already, you probably don't know that. Anyway, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Any additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters and or pressing matters that require ratification at a future meeting? Anything? Okay. The agenda request that I had asked for didn't exactly get on here, but we'll get it. There is one thing I would like to add to the agenda item number 1, and under the Bellows Falls Police Department update, the Herrick's Cove agreement. And I would put that under 1, say A, I guess, since there's only general overview here. Approval of minutes for the June 23rd special meeting and the June 9th regular meeting.
Yeah, I'm going to make the motion that we approve those minutes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the June 23rd and June 9th meetings. Any conversation, discussion on those minutes? No? All right. I have to look around to see if let me know if somebody puts their hand up. In that case, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, minutes are passed. Public comment. Is anyone else? Mr. Mitchell? Yes.
We have a hobo problem down at the Waypoint Center. It's in our control. I know the police is down there. I know the town manager is down there. But there's not very much tourists down there to see some half-naked men on the road. Please, take note of that. It's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. I do believe that is something that is being addressed. I know that the manager spoke to me about the issue yesterday. Thank you for letting us know. Anyone else wish to speak in public comment? Anyone else? No. All right. Hearing none, then we move on to the agenda. The first item on the agenda is the Bellows Falls Police Department update. We did have an attachment. I wanted to see if Interim Chief Beamus had anything on this item before we move forward.
We did complete the auction of the vehicles. The 2014 Explorer went $5,400. The 2005 Sport Track went for $610. I think that I'm not sure we had much on the information down on the island with the homeless. We are dealing with them. We're dealing with them on a daily basis, and we're getting together some people to be working on the issue as well.
Okay. Let me see. We have received a report of an updated schedule concerning this. We do have the review of the overtime report for June, which is normally something we talk about as we get further down the list, but this would be an appropriate place to speak. Yes, you do. Do we get the overtime list?
Just for the police department and the chief this time.
Okay, so it's in the back of this packet, right?
It's in the back of it.
The log?
The packets.
I don't see it, though, actually. So we didn't get it. All right, so we will need to ask. We were supposed to have that at the beginning of every first month meeting.
Particularly because it's such a problem. And my assumption is that we've made some progress, but we need to make more progress. Very seriously, we need to make more progress.
We have hired a new full-time officer. He's in field training right at the moment, but when he is out on his own, hopefully that will be at least a 40-hour
Before we move a little any further, I wanted to mention at the beginning of the meeting that you should make sure that your microphones are right near your face. Otherwise, there have been comments that on Zoom or on the recordings that people are not picking up our conversation properly. So please want to make sure that you can be heard. So I'm speaking to my trustees too, to make sure. And you might consider leaving your microphone on the whole time as opposed to turning it off, because you might forget and then speak. Especially had you two, someone said that they didn't hear you very well, especially if you're going to keep a mask on. So in that case. So that was it on the microphones, to make sure that people can hear you properly and it's recorded properly. Thank you. In addition, onto this item, I'd like to hear about the uniform change and where that directive came from to do so.
I made the directive for the uniform change. The uniform is basically the pants going from a dark blue to a, it's called a coyote color. At least for the summer uniform to have this. It's been a good 20 plus years since we've had a uniform change, really of any sort. And it was my decision to do this.
Okay. I know that the trustees had some concern over it when they saw the change from the blue. Did anyone have anything they wanted to say about it now, or are we good?
Well, how much did we spend to make the uniform change?
Well, a number of people have bought their own. We have bought one pair for some of the officers, and I don't know the total figure of it.
Yeah.
But like my own, I bought my own and paid for them myself. And I know some of the other officers have done that too.
Yeah.
We haven't bought any more than one pair for any of the officers that are there. So.
Shannon?
So the
So you put on
police
that.
officers have a uniform expense, and they are far, far, far below budget. And like Chief said, we did not purchase every single officer a pair of the khaki.
Yeah, khaki.
So let me ask, so what was the reasoning for changing from the blue that we've had?
It was just an idea that this might not look as officious and as more welcoming, more easygoing. I'm not sure easygoing's a word to say, but just to have a different appearance, it's a different time, it's a different appearance. And, that was the idea, that it could be handled relatively inexpensively, but that it would be a change that we could do.
So we're no longer doing all blue with the tie and all that? Or?
We'd have the tie.
Yeah.
If we go to court, or in the winter, you can have the tie or a turtleneck.
Right.
And it's been that way right along. You could either wear a tie or a turtleneck in the winter. We may go back to the blue pants in the winter and just have these for the summer pants with a short sleeve uniform shirt.
So the short sleeve uniform shirt, what about a polo shirt?
We had polo shirts at one point in time.
Yeah.
I think it's better to have a uniform shirt or the vest carrier shirt instead of the polo shirt. We could think about the polo shirt.
Well, I'm just inquiring,
but
yeah.
those you'd have to embroider.
Right.
And those would add up to quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because you need to have to buy at least two for everybody.
Right.
And I thought that this would be a relatively inexpensive change that would show change and show different times and different look.
Jake, did you have something?
I like the look. I think it's a pleasant change.
Okay, Wade, did you have something?
I did. When did that go into effect?
Well, some of them still have some blue pants because they haven't got there's been at least a couple of people doing that, but it was mid-June we started this.
Oh, so it's not even been a month, about a month ago.
About a month.
Do you have it on now?
I do.
Can I see?
Can you walk down the catwalk, please?
Well,
I agree with Jiggs. I think it's nice to see everybody dressed alike and in proper uniform and something that's, clear and cut. And
yeah, I mean, it made a change in the look of the uniform, but it wasn't a huge expense to us, and people
Yep.
seem to like the,
Okay. If we're done with the uniform. Moving on to the in here, I also wanted to find out about the cleanup directive summary. Chuck, that'd be to you?
Yes, particularly with village properties, the water, wastewater inspected, passed high marks. Police, fire, I'll allow.
Thank you. I can allow both of them to expand on it, but there was major cleanup, major hoeing out of the facilities. It looks bright, fresh, and I can't wait to have an open house for you all to visit. It has uncovered more things. Those walls are in desperate need of paint. We can now see them pretty well. And so, if anything, the cleanup directive is just getting started. What would you recognize in terms of the amount of stuff that left that building, the two of you?
we sent out two truckloads of pretty much junk to get out. And there were more bags that we threw out, but this was broken furniture and things that have
Years of storage.
passed their time.
Okay. All right, thank you. Discussion of the traffic study, Chuck, I think you put that on here, speed counters by Wyndham Regional Commission.
Yes. So you have, this actually starts with Stefan. He calls me up and, the pandemic reprioritized things, and then we very quickly learned that there's still some things that are important to us, and people barreling down roads is actually one of those priorities. I would like to see a data-driven response to traffic enforcement. These tubes can be out there recording traffic speeds 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We'll pull those counters and see if there's patterns that we can take advantage of from a law enforcement perspective. In terms of costs, we already support Wyndham Regional Commission. This is probably one of the best commissions in the state of Vermont. We pay their dues, so we can make requests like that, and it's not free, but it's already built into our fee structure.
So you're saying there are costs that we will incur. We don't have those costs.
I'm saying that the fees that we pay to Wyndham Regional Commission every year covers these traffic counts. We are simply making a request within the fee structure that we have. In addition to the speed counters to direct law enforcement accurately, we have another counter being installed in and around the Wonder Bar and Moondog Cafe. We want to see what the 85th percentile is there, just to make sure as we alter the sidewalk use, we just need to be cautious and always safety focused. So those speed counters are not very descriptive. People just drive by using their actual speed and they won't even notice it. If we detect patterns of concern, we want to be able to respond proactively.
Anything else on this from the board? No? Okay.
You're good.
All right, moving on to the discussion of equipment purchase, cameras. I wanted to understand if we're talking about body or vehicle cameras.
Well, we need cameras for the cruisers, in the cruisers. It's a pretty standard thing for law enforcement in Vermont to have cruiser cameras. When we disassembled the vehicle that we sold, that had an active working camera in it, but it was old. Both of the two cameras that we have are probably past their life. They don't work great. We do need cameras, but for the cruisers. I've got some prices of cameras for 3 cruisers, which would outfit all 3 of the vehicles, from one company. I've been working on getting a quote from another company. I've looked at WatchGuard and I've looked at Axion. Those are the two, probably the 2 more popular and better cameras that are used in and around Vermont. And the companies are solid companies that will be able to stand behind their product and be able to repair them and take care of them. The WatchGuard has a system where a cruiser comes to the office. It links with the server by Wi-Fi and downloads all of the data to the server, and then then is sent to the cloud that WatchGuard or Axion has to maintain the validity of the system and the video. And then if we need the video, we can then go and
Retrieve
pull
it.
it off of the website. As I say, those are the two companies that I would look at or think about.
Okay.
They also both have body cameras, and when we choose a vehicle camera, I would like the body cameras to be of the same kind when we get body cameras. We can certainly, I've got some prices for body cameras, but I'm thinking it may be a little early for us to invest in the body cameras, in that the legislature may produce some money for it, Congress may produce some money for it that we would be able to use to buy our body cameras. If we buy them before that, then we may not be able to reimburse the village for that. Body cameras for everybody would be over $20,000 probably. So I would not want to come to you and say, we all need body cameras, this month, if next month there's going to be grants and funding that we can go after for that. So
Now, speaking of the legislature, wasn't there some activity today, reference?
I believe the governor signed the bill. I believe they're requiring
State police?
state police to wear body cameras and encouraging everybody to. They are going to be working on the bill, is my understanding, to change a few things in the bill when they come back in August.
Yeah.
And I know that Congress is working on that and is suggesting body cameras. Body cameras are a great thing.
Yeah.
And we could use them, and we should have them.
Yeah.
But I think there will be money out there shortly for them.
Well,
So to come to you and say,
right.
I need, $5,000 for body cameras now, and then in 2 months, there's the grants, but we can't.
Access.
I realize that. But my other thinking is that if the state is going to be making a major purchase, that may be something we want to look into piggybacking on to see what our options are. And I understand, because we always talk about grants, and they aren't always, you don't always get one.
That's that's absolutely true. You
Yeah.
don't always get them, but I think for body cameras, the political mood is out there for everybody for all officers
Right.
to have them.
Right.
I think that will be something I think there will be some money
Yeah.
for that.
I mean, I'm hearing, and seeing the political move, we all are.
Yes.
But I'm also hearing on the other side that budgets may be reduced, or grants may disappear, or become less available. So I just like to exercise all options.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that.
No, I understand that.
At some point, somebody won't come and say, we need body cameras and we need the village to pay for them.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that there will be money available for that, and we haven't had them, so to jump on it and say we need them right this month.
Right.
Is probably not prudent at this point.
Now, let me ask if I may. We still have the mobile data terminals and that, do we not?
We do.
Okay. Are there GPS capabilities with those mobile data terminals?
You can do GPS on them,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure that it's recorded, because we don't use the Spillman system for our computer-aided dispatching. We use the Valcor system.
Right.
And I don't believe that through the MDCs, the Valcor can GPS you.
Okay. Is there anything further on the camera issue? I know that there's $4,000 in equipment funds. I'm not sure what you're thinking these cameras for the dash cams would be, but
Yeah, the dash cams are about $24,000 from the one company that we have.
okay. Have you considered where that money's going to come from?
We had hoped that the seizure money coming back, and that was the plan for that money, was to buy that equipment. You can only use it for certain things,
Right.
and that was the plan. But when it comes back, I don't know. I can't give you a date on it. I was on the website today looking. It gives us no date when that's going to be coming available. It's from the Department of Justice, and it will be the Department of Justice that tells us when it is.
Is the 24,000 for three, or?
It's for three.
For
yes.
three.
For all three.
Okay, so they're $8,000
vehicles.
apiece. Okay.
And it includes the cloud to store the video and
Right.
a contract. It would be a contract for over, I believe it's 5 years.
Oh,
that
they
it
would
that it
support.
would cover.
Right.
It would support, yes.
Wade?
In the beginning, what did you say currently the 3 cruisers?
We have 3 cruisers. One has an older camera installed in it
And the other 2 don't have anything.
they do not.
Okay.
The other follow-up to that is on the body cams. I should know this, but I don't. If you're on duty and you have a body cam, and I come on duty next, can I use your body cam?
You could,
Or does everybody have to have their own?
usually they would say that most would have their own, but you could switch them out, yes. There would be a way to do that. You could log in, log out, with the cameras, and
So that is an option. I mean,
that is an option.
may not
But
be
if you have a big event where you have everybody working,
true.
and
Not
then
everybody's got
somebody
one.
doesn't have the camera, and say, well, why doesn't this guy have the camera?
But maybe in the beginning, until you get enough, that would be a way of
I
going
mean, that
about it.
certainly
When we
could
get
work.
to that point, right?
Yeah.
When we have to purchase
Yeah,
it. Okay.
but like I said, I'm not trying
Right.
to get you to jump for
Yeah.
body cameras right
Okay.
this month.
All right. Review of the police blog process. I wanted to know how that's going. Sometimes I see the lists like we get here, and other times I see reports. So how often is that loaded? And
Well, we try and do the list once a month, at the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
That puts it out, that tells what the calls were and where they were and what they were. The others are not reports, but they're press releases.
Press releases, yeah.
That
That's what I meant to
are
say.
issued when somebody is charged with a crime, or that we're looking for information on if an incident happened and we're asking people for information, we will post one on there. And those come out when we have them. But the list of the incidents and everything comes out at the end of the month. So the one that we posted in the first part of July was the totals for June.
okay.
Done.
So there's not daily input. It's done. I mean, it's a press release. It's probably not. It's maybe in a few days, and then the log is done at the end of the month.
There were some incidents this weekend, and I believe they're on there. The press releases were issued.
Okay. I don't check it all the time. I just wanted to know how the
But I
process
think they
was.
were issued on Monday. I reviewed them and said, yes, put them on there. But the running totals of the cases are just once a month,
Okay.
after the month is over.
Great. All right, and the last, I'm sorry? Yes, hands, can't see you.
I've signed up, Guy Dono, I've
Yeah.
signed up to get emailed the press releases, which I find you don't have to go look for them, like a big announcement. I don't know if you knew about that. I
Yes.
did.
Well, that's right, I did. I should probably say it. If people are interested, they can sign up, as you
Get
said,
the email.
and get the emails instead of having to go look for them.
You can go to our Facebook page. There's a link to the blog post. You can go directly to the blog post. You don't have to go through Facebook. And Gaetano's right. It will email you any and all.
Updates.
It'll come out early in the morning. An email, whatever
Mm-hmm.
was posted.
Anything else, Gaetano?
I have another question about, it's kind of about cleanup thing. So the entryway on the northern side of the police department is looking a little rough. Is it my understanding that there's some scheduled work, little maintenance and fresh paint?
We were talking about painting it ourselves. We were looking around for some paint to do it ourselves. A couple weeks ago, we haven't found the white paint, the exterior white paint in either building, firehouse or ours, but we were looking for it, so.
Chuck, did you have anything on that? Do you know what the
Yeah,
paint is
we're
for
going
it?
to make money available for white paint and consider me one of the volunteers. That's not a major expense, and
Doesn't look well right now.
No. We've noticed it, and we were talking about doing that.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. The last thing I had under this one item was, yeah, maybe Chuck had put it, Josh Parrow, recognizing Officer Parrow's excellence. You didn't have the thing to put on the screen?
You know, I should be able to do something like that. Maybe Shannon can. Josh, let's do this together. I've worked with the police a lot. Admittedly, I don't see the night shift people very often. Josh is very hardworking, very dedicated, young, enthusiastic, and he's exactly the kind of person we want to see in our police department. He comes here, he's interested because he gets to use all his law enforcement skills in this community. So soup to nuts, he is fully engaged. He's not just some traffic guy. But as we try to celebrate staff from time to time and recognize them, make sure that the boards know about superlative service, Josh Parrow definitely comes to the forefront. Anything else you'd like to add?
I think you said it well.
Okay, great. Moving on to item number 2, the Bellows Falls Police Chief Search Committee update. That's for Jakes.
Eric's code.
Yes, I did, but, oh yes, I forgot that one. You know, I asked for it. My understanding is we don't have a written agreement to provide that service. I believe it was something that happened about a year ago, when the Great River Hydro determined to stop patrolling that or having it patrolled to make sure that it was safe. We started doing it. I believe Wendy initiated it. My understanding is it's still going on, and it is opening and closing, but it is out of the village and it is out of our pocket. And I'd like to see where that is now. What's the status on that?
Well, we started this about 2 weeks ago. Well, a week ago or so.
The day of the end review, when we made that update, that's when we started again.
Mm-hmm.
It was, Dave and I will both do this, there was some agreement. You guys have asked me individually the nature of that agreement. I do not know. It was done last year when asked to continue it this year. Having seen no cause to not continue it, we just did. But there is a history of not having written agreements or anything. So if you change that, I don't see any objection to that. But we're going to continue with the status quo.
For many years before it was Great River Hydro, where it was several different owners, the Sheriff's Department was contracted to go up there, go through the place, move anybody out. They put in the gates, then it became the sheriff's job to shut the gates. Last year, and I wasn't in on any of the discussion on it, but last year I believe Great River Hydro came to the village and requested that we do that as part of their tax payment, that they requested the village do that, and that they were going to eliminate the sheriff's contract. That I can't.
Yes, I do know for sure that they stopped doing it, so they're not paying for it. But the village and town both collect taxes from Great River Hydro, and the town doesn't put in anything. Shannon?
So the town actually pays for all of it. It reimburses at a time and a half for a average police officer, so we came up with a number, and the town reimburses the village 100% for the service that they provide.
So what is that number and where is it?
Yeah, right.
I can get that for you. I don't have it right
Yeah, because
now.
that's what we don't understand. Our understanding is we're not getting paid anything for
No,
this. And it's
no.
time out of the village when we have only so many officers and we need them to patrol the village.
No, it
so.
was an agreement with the town, and the town, so like we do the funds for the health officer, and that's how it was transferred in last year. So we will do the same thing for however many hours. It's not an entry that I make every single day that they do it.
Yep.
But on a quarterly basis, they submit how many hours that they worked doing that.
Okay, so
and then
FY20, we'd like to know what those numbers are.
Sure.
And you had a question about liability. There's concerns. What happens if an officer encounters a problem?
It's the same thing as we do other jobs, the highway patrol. It's the same as that. So we do take other jobs outside of the village that we get paid for at time and a half. We're doing the same thing, we're just charging the town.
My question was,
It's
if it's not their jurisdiction.
It's the same thing as any
what happens?
other.
Well, we do have statewide authority, So to say that if we were outside of the village, it doesn't then discount our law enforcement authority. We have it over the entire state of Vermont. With the agreement with Walpole, we even have limited authority over there. So I think liability-wise, it would be the same as if we were in the village. I don't think there would be a...
Lapse of coverage, yeah. Anyone else have anything on that? Yes, Wade?
So you're saying that none of this is in writing?
Right.
Gaetano can speak to it further, but we had a discussion and motions were made and everything is legal and the money, the town pays for the service. This wasn't brought to the village, this was only brought to the village to say, we would like to buy services from you. This was at a meeting last year. Would you be willing to provide the service?
No.
Because it's, I think it's either a half an hour or an hour in the morning and at night. And then the village bills the town and the town pays them. We do other things such as the fireworks, right? That's not a...
No, the village pays for the fireworks.
Well, bad example, but
Alumni.
Alumni,
Some
right.
of the alumni issues.
same thing.
Yeah, the alumni.
The
dance.
alumni dance. So other people buy the services of our police officers and pay us at time and a half for their services. The town's just buying our services.
And this is only 2 nights, 2 mornings a week, is
Is
that?
it every day, isn't it?
Every day.
No, we're checking it every day.
Every
Oh,
day.
because I thought the email said just on the weekends.
No.
It was the weekends of when it's locked, but they wanted it checked every day.
Right.
Oh.
So
My only question is, so if you go up there and on the way back you get hit and one of the cruisers gets totaled, then whose dime's that on?
It's
Or if that is, hopefully this would never happen, but if the cruiser got damaged and the officer got hurt, then that becomes a workers' comp issue that,
It's the same thing though as us accepting any job. So we do the highway, governor's
or if-
highway program. We do a handful of programs every single year where we go out of our district and other people rent our services. It's the same exact thing.
So if somebody
well, it
ran
is
into
and
a
it isn't.
telephone pole and they couldn't move the truck because the wires or sometimes, and it's been a while since this has happened, but sometimes the company will hire us to stay there with blue lights, pay the village money, and
Right.
Right, but he's saying who's paying for it if a vehicle gets damaged or the officer gets damaged? Is it on the village?
It's on, currently, it would be, under this current program, it'd be on our dime.
I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be like if a police officer has to go to the route,
Right.
same thing. You know, it could happen on 911.
That's true.
Right. Other than this is something that we're taking on that, is being compensated enough to make it worth our while, I don't know, but.
Absolutely. Anytime that we do any services and get paid time and a half for them when it's within the police office, it's always, we're always asked to be creative to come up with revenue sources. If they're not, if they weren't driving in, they'd be driving in a village. So same probability of an accident, same thing as going to work, same thing as going to Governor Highway. They're performing a job regardless of where they are.
John.
For clarity, because Wade pointed something out, what's the exact schedule that we do? Because I want to make sure I accurately represented that.
they want it to make sure that nobody's there at dusk,
7 days a week?
7 days a week.
And we lock the gate.
And lock the gate on Friday and Saturday nights.
And then unlock it in the morning?
Yes.
Oh.
So in the evening, it probably takes maybe half an hour, maybe not quite that. In the morning, it's 10 minutes from village there and back. So
Go down on something.
So it is an agreement that I'm sure we could find and perhaps revisit. And I believe you remember, Stephen, we had a long discussion on the town. And essentially it was to keep the new relations with Great River Hydro after something. But I remember it is an agreement, it is in writing, and perhaps it can be revisited, but so I have one question. The gate doesn't get locked every night?
it doesn't get locked every night. That's When I spoke with Great River, they just wanted somebody up there checking it, but preferred that it be locked on the weekends,
Nights.
the weekend
So you're
nights.
sending an officer up there to drive through the area every night?
Yes.
Do they go
He
back?
estimated about $3,000 for the summer.
Okay. So he just asked, do they go back? You mean go
I mean, if
make
they
a second
go-
trip?
Take one trip through there at dusk and there's nobody in there, but the gate's not locked, but, you know, it's
Yeah.
supposed to be, it's kind of separate, but I'm not following that. I was under the impression it got locked every night.
Yeah,
It used to.
it used to with the sheriffs, yes. They did lock it every night. When I was talking with Great River, and last year, we were locking it every night, and then Great River said, no, we just need it on the weekends to be locked.
Perhaps we could revisit it. I just wanted to say I remember the discussion. It is an agreement, and Shannon has found the number, so if you guys want to re-discuss it, if you're concerned, then we can do that, I would say.
My concern was only that it hadn't been, that it isn't in writing, it was in minutes. It would have been recorded in minutes, but there's no actual intermunicipal agreement. I didn't sign anything. So therefore, it's a minute agreement, which happens, but we do have other intermunicipal agreements, and maybe we should have one for this, just to make sure we're good, and future boards and future members will all be on the same page, and not knowing how long this will continue, or they change their minds, or if they have if something significant happens to make them want to change the program. But in the meantime, I think it would be good to have it in writing and signed off by the boards. So it's historic, like our other intermunicipal agreements for doing 121 and, 5 and all that stuff. So that's all. Does anybody else have anything else?
I agree with that.
No. Yes.
So in terms of police, if I'm going to summarize, I owe you an overtime report, and then I will do the
Yep.
research for the following meeting, so let the minutes reflect that. So you'll get your overtime report tomorrow, and then I will produce the legal agreement, or what we have, let's just say that, regarding Herrick's Cove,
Okay.
and then we'll build from there.
All right.
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Mitchell.
I remember distinctly, it's the New Hampshire's contract, a signed contract with TransCanada. The fee was $5,000 in the summer. But you might want to get a hold of the New Hampshire and see what the contract was with TransCanada. I used to go up there and spend all day up there. Even that it was possible way back. Go up there and patrol and kick the bums out. But the sheriff had a contract, $5,000. That figure stuck in my head.
Well, see,
Okay.
that, I recollect that
Thanks, Jim.
there was some type of an agreement, and I thought it was 14,000. I'd have to go back and check my notes if I can, but I thought
Yeah, well, guess
Wendy at the time had mentioned
Yeah.
14,000.
Well, Chuck will dig up what she had,
Yeah.
so I'm assuming we will get that.
Why my camera is muted, I can't see you.
I'm sorry, what? Repeat?
Why is my camera muted?
I don't know.
Tell John, I can't see myself.
I don't know. You might want to go out and come back in. Okay.
Next item.
Okay. All right. Let us move on. That's a technical problem, not one we can address right here. Thanks. We are still running forward. We can see everybody else. Number 2 is the Bellows Falls Police Chief Search Committee update. I'm assuming Jigs will give us a general overview. We'll talk more about it in executive session.
Do you need me for anything more?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Chuck, you're all set with
We're good.
Bemis? Okay. Thank you.
The search is back on. The deadline for applicants was the 7th of July. We received a total of 10 applicants. The committee that was formed to provide the due diligence and review of this, of the candidates, met on Monday, yesterday. We selected 6 of the 10 applicants and have invited each of the 6 for an interview. We hope to interview 3 of the candidates next Monday, the 20th, and another 3 next Thursday, the 23rd. So hopefully by the end of next week, we will have completed the first round of interviews with the candidates. The committee will then meet and discuss the next step. But things are moving forward, and hopefully we're getting closer.
Okay, so you have six selected out of 10, and you'll be interviewing them the 20th and the 23rd. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, and we'll I think we have some more specific questions for you, but that'll wait till executive session. Okay? That makes sense at this point. Anything else on the general overview from anyone? No? Okay. Gaetano?
Quick question. Could you explain one more time how the process works? Just, I remember like the committee is gonna pick the person or how?
No.
What's
No.
happening here? Committee's
No,
gonna
the
pick
committee-
the top.
The committee's goal is to find a candidate or two
Okay.
to recommend to the manager, and the decision to hire which person is the discretion of the manager.
So one or two? Top?
We'll have to see. I mean,
What comes out,
you
yeah.
know, or three.
Okay, item, excuse me?
A
Yes.
point of clarification to Gaetano's question. I don't want to get stuck in semantics here, but my strong preference is to endorse the recommendation of the committee. I understand the legal implications, but we have a concern in our community that the next chief show the leadership that this community wants. So having a group of our citizens charged with selecting the new chief, I cannot overstate the importance of that. And having that decision remanded to a bureaucrat, i.e. me, is just not acceptable at this point. So I will be endorsing the recommendation of the Police Search Committee. Any questions on that?
Well, you still have to do the hiring.
I still have to do all the paperwork. I'm not excusing myself for that. But the average citizen needs to know that person was selected by a member of their community and received due diligence and scrutiny.
That works fine, Chuck, if there's only one recommendation. It just cautioned you that if there were two people recommended, then obviously it would have to be your decision to make a selection.
Thank you.
Make the decision.
Well, before we get there, at this time in our history, I think that the village trustees are going to ask for more information than less. We're going to want some input. We want to see that. If you're going to come down to that, we're not going to believe that a committee will be able to make that selection. That is, in one case, if it's not going to be his job, it's our job.
Well, I think you're out of line.
Well.
At all. I mean, we have two members, Jeff and myself, are on this committee. We're going to keep you posted on all of that, but neither Jeff nor I, nor the committee, nor this board of trustees has the authority to hire the police chief.
No, the manager doesn't. He just said he's going to defer to the committee. And we're saying, as a board, we would be the next down the line from the manager in that case. We'll discuss that more in executive session. Tom, did you have something else before we move on?
Quickly, sorry. So I'm kind of putting my faith in the two members of the trustees here. The manager's comment stated it's a committee of citizens. Right? I think those two are the only two that are citizens of the village of Bellows Falls are on that.
No, there are several others.
Yeah, there's more now, yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Good job, thank you.
All right, let us move on to the rental housing ordinance review. Chuck would do that piece. He asked for input. I'm sorry. Oh, did I miss that? My apologies. I pre-checked. Police union negotiations. That's you, Jigs.
We've had several meetings with the police union. Our next scheduled meeting is on the 21st, next Tuesday. This item will be discussed in executive session.
Okay, great. And that's where we'll go with that. On to, then, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on your toes on that item. I just checked it too early. Rental housing ordinance review, and I believe that'd be Chuck. He asked us to get feedback, and I asked that you submit him feedback on the ordinance so we can discuss it and work on moving forward. Chuck.
We're really here to listen. this is your first opportunity as a group to discuss this ordinance. You've given me personal feedback. Some of that has, some of it's big picture. Some of it is specifics, errors and things like that. I would also like to recognize Hope and Miles with the Ordinance Committee. They're the ones that, thanks for waving, that's very good. They are the ones that have helped me to put in the work of meeting every 2 weeks to develop our ordinances and make sure we have one coherent vision for our ordinances. That includes Deb, but she's here with another hat.
Okay, did the trustees have things they want to discuss about this ordinance at this point? Or do you think you said it all when you sent your comments to Chuck? Anyone?
I have two.
Go ahead. Wait.
A question and a comment. At some point, Chuck, can I get my notes back that I gave you? No rush, just whenever.
You don't know how to use the internet? What's wrong with you?
And what was the, this is a question from my co-trustee. You had a concern about neutral message from the board on that? Can you explain that, just so I follow you?
Absolutely. I think the word neutral wasn't accurate. I don't think that this is something that we can be neutral on.
But that's what it said, right?
That's what it said.
Yeah,
And I'm
okay.
saying that it wasn't accurate in
All right.
what I was addressing. My hope is that this can be a positive process, and my concerns in discussions with various people involved, and also some of the communications, written communications, was with the language that was chosen and making sure that it's not characterizing broadly, using terms like, slumlords or slums or those sorts of things, because I think it sets it up as a, starts off on the wrong foot. And I'm interested in knowing what the procedural and process going forward will be. I think that there's a lot of parties who will want to be involved in the discussion who are outside of this small group. So making the document available and then continuing the discussions in a positive manner, and just making sure that as a governing body that we try to keep that discussion on a positive keel and take the time that is necessary to hear and work through all aspects of it. It's not something that I think that we need to rush through. I think, I think there are a lot of things in here to discuss, and we're not going to do it in one meeting.
Okay, but I don't see that my board is prepared to talk about it. I asked for feedback to Chuck so that he could move on this, and where did you see slumlord in here?
I said in discussions with...
I thought you were talking about the content of the ordinance itself.
I'm just encouraging, my concerns are that we maintain a positive discussion. And I
Right,
trust
of course.
and I trust that we will. It's just, you asked what my concerns are, and that's my concern.
Okay.
That's the primary concern, and I think we could go, through this document item by item. I trust it's going to be something that's discussed beyond this evening. It hasn't been presented in any formal way other than each of us reading it individually, and I think that it needs to be.
Jigs?
Yeah, my assumption is that the draft has been prepared by the committee, by the ordinance committee that's working on this, and that this process is to have the trustees take a look at it, and then it will go to broader discussion, like with landlords and
Right, that would be the next, that's the next steps, instruct staff on public process, yeah.
I think that, I'm generally supportive of this kind of thing, because I think, to have the kind of village that we want to be proud of, we need to have properties that are suitable for people to live in, and all that kind of good stuff. Clearly, when you talk about quadrennial inspections and you you look at some of the larger properties and stuff like this, it's hard for me to get a feel for the manpower. I should use a more unisex name for that, I suppose. But the labor requirement it would go is implicit in this document, and you know, what type of will there be fees required to compensate for this time? As a trustee, I would, for all that I'm supportive of it and all that, I would not want to have to add employees to the village in order to accomplish this. I mean, you might be able to, you know, obviously contract with a third party to do those kinds of things. That would be more acceptable to me. But I think clearly what it's going to cost and what it's going to entail will be a question that I'm sure people who have rental properties are going to want to know right off.
Right, and that would be the public process, which is one of the things we'll have to do next. I did want to ask if Chuck had made any changes or alterations, or that you could submit to the ordinance committee that that board members were looking at before we actually presented to the public. Did you get enough feedback? Now, we've had this for a month now, so this is our
Yeah, I mean, this is really you as a group. Jigs did get to the real nut of the issue. We don't expand, we don't intend to expand personnel. This is one of my favorite jobs, rental housing inspection. So I'd like to get back to that soon. That said, we would be using the existing resources. We have Wyndham Regional Commission to evaluate the number of properties. We need to get you a better answer, not just I said it was doable, but that we actually look at the numbers, and Sean and I at a public meeting tell you that we can do this in the time allotted. If that means we have to push out years, that might be an option. But I really need direction from you all. If this is something you want to see happen, then we will allocate the resources. With the nuisance ordinance, because we all wanted that, that was about 6 months of public process, about 24 meetings. It was exhausting. We did that with the assurance that this board and the select board wanted us to move forward on that. So this is really getting to you first and then unrolling this to everyone else. And there is a cost associated with getting this out to the public.
So again, I wanted to ask, did you consolidate input from the trustees that we could see on the 21st, which is our next ordinance committee meeting?
There was a scattering of input. I can consolidate it and present it as one draft, and that will allow me to give Wade back his draft.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Will do.
Or scan it, or send it all.
That's right.
Send it to the ordinance committee so we can review it. That would be great.
But I think then, from my standpoint, I would be supportive of this going forward.
Okay.
Can't hear Jigs at home. Folks say they can't hear Jigs.
Oh, maybe pull your microphone a little closer, Jigs. That would be great. Yeah, I'm presuming until the ordinances in the way is completed with changes, alterations, and amendments, we won't be presenting it to the public until we are ready to do that. So it has to be finished, and we're not finished with it yet. So good. Any additional discussion? Did you have something, Wade?
No, I was just going to say I support it moving forward and keeping it down the path of where it's supposed to be headed.
Thank you.
So we are moving forward. Again, any additional comments and so on and so forth, continue to submit them so we can incorporate them. Yes, Mr. Mitchell.
Yeah. When Mr. Dunbar said phone was, I didn't think them all the time because recently found out that we have a problem with abandoned buildings that doesn't being sold out, workshop buildings that doesn't being sold out. So those are the slumlords in my book. Now, I totally agree with you. I would like to see you encompass a housing authority. I live in a building that is very well maintained. They also maintain several other properties. You need to look at the big picture. A housing authority would generate revenue in so many ways. You know, we just need to look at that. I've lived in cities where there are hard authorities in function. You can use a dedicated officer back to that hard authority along nationwide and go in and inspect the places. Confirmed that somebody got lead poisoning a child, and we haven't even been told whose house that was. That should not be a secret. The Attorney General should be down here asking why a child in the hall felt lead poisoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Let us move, if we can, on to administrative matters. Change of an authorized representative.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. See you guys next week. So what document are we looking for here?
It's in the packet.
Yeah, I know, I'm lost. Oh, yes, the
So I would.
safe drinking
I would
water.
This is regarding the water infrastructure financing programs.
Right.
And I would move to authorize Charles Wise as the Bellows Falls Village trustee representative for this purpose.
Need a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on that? I can't see my mic up, but I did read it. Yes, I know which one it is now. Yep. It says, but it says the chair of the legislative body, not Chuck Wise. See that? Is that correct?
Well, it names him the.
It does name him, so that means,
representative,
okay,
But the chair of the legislative body, you would have to sign.
as well, so,
You
okay.
want that part of the vote?
That's fine, yes, please.
To have the village president sign.
Is that agreeable to the person who seconded?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any further discussion on this matter? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, so we have that, and if you want to, whoever has the original of that document, I need to sign it.
Yes.
Also, we need to cover the Saxons River contract needs signing.
Can you explain that for the group?
It is the wastewater agreement, is it not? Okay, it was not signed. We went over that some time ago. It didn't get completed.
So for the trustees' knowledge,
Okay. Oh, no, I'll try.
we had a vote.
We had a vote.
Okay.
We did pass the
And
vote.
so there's a clerical oversight. and
Simply
we'll
didn't
have
get
this-
signed.
Simply did not get signed.
Right,
So
that's
we'll have the
correct.
2 documents signed and submitted.
Okay, if you don't have them, I can come in this week. I have to do warrants anyway, and I'll sign them then if you want.
I'll have them signed right now. so.
Okay, that is fine too. I'm sorry, you had to say what?
Nope, we just, well,
It was something else.
Yeah.
We were discussing, yeah. Oh, right. And that, I guess that lends me into, it's kind of a little slightly off topic, but maybe Chuck could tell us about that. The addition of Saxons River to the town and village website.
And I have Leah Clark here. So I will speak for you, okay, unless you want to mention something. We have the potential to, Saxons River heard about the days in review. They wanted in on that, so we've included them. They're also interested in joining our website. This is something that, for those of us who have been interested in what the Saxons River trustees do, it's not always easy to find their information. So we will have one house.
Yeah.
Deb has rightly pointed out that there's a cost share that comes with that. Right now, my main focus is trying to get them to join the team. Next year, after we have some of our web costs, when we look at those expenses, then we can divvy them out appropriately. But these are relatively small things, like hosting the website's like $26 a month. So they're not big ticket items, but to Deb's point, we'll make sure that we have the full amount and then allocate that out. But the hope is that from now on, we will have a seamless Town of Rockingham presence.
Are they aware fully that they will have to comply with 1 BSA once they do that? All their minutes must be posted within a certain number of days. All their agendas must be posted within a certain number of days before the meeting, and everything else. That's compliance they've never had. And I received their minutes, and they're usually many days later than the 5 required. I know it's extended now for COVID to 10, but the reality is they don't do things in a timely manner sometimes. And
My
I'm saying
tone has
that over
been-
the air, knowing that someone's going to hear that, but it's true because I get their minutes and agendas, and they need to be compliant. That's the only thing I want to make sure they're warned. They need to be compliant.
I think point taking, there are probably some of them may be listening, but
Yep.
point taking, but yeah, let's get them on board, get them part of the team, and hopefully we'll get a steady flow and everything will be all right.
Then we'll all be in the same loop.
Just in compliance, we've never had this before. We had an antiquated website.
Right.
Some things would be there, some things weren't. People would think, okay, you're trying to hide it. Now we can tell our web analytics when exactly it was posted, was that compliant? You can actually request, when did it go up there? We can different versions, how many times has it been downloaded? So we're going to get all of us a little bit more honest than maybe we've been used to, but it's going to put us all in compliance with state law.
Okay. And that kind of puts me into the finance department update because that's talking about money. And the first item on here is the budget overview. So I had a lot of questions. I sent them to Shannon, and I'm going to go over them later. I don't necessarily have to say anything now. So other board members might have questions on the budget.
Can I start?
Yeah, good.
So, just so you guys are aware, this is not a final. There are still some entries to be made. Sit down with each department head. So these are not final, but we are projected to come in significantly under budget where we thought we were. And if you have any specific questions, I can answer them this evening, although these aren't final. Or, like Deb, I'm happy to sit down or a brief phone call with anyone to discuss.
Okay. I just want to ask when she'd have finals, that's all.
Last month, there was a thought that we would have a 350,000 plus. It looks like it's down to 300.
Yeah, how'd that happen?
This graph. And I'm just wondering what Shannon's estimate is for what would be the final.
No, my estimate was 3 to 350, depending on where we came out and what invoices hit this fiscal year.
And we heard the larger numbers that we're saying.
So it won't go down from what this graph is.
No, it's not finished, but this is roughly where we're gonna.
I do have a few questions. Probably the most significant question is, we assume that we collect all of the taxes. And do you have a feel for the 2020, this fiscal period, the amount of uncollected taxes at this point?
So we don't have a large delinquency. We sent out past due notices and we had a lot of incoming revenue. But I can get you tomorrow and follow up.
Just a rough, an estimate of what we
If I may also have a question.
Yeah. You want to finish up your question? You want to move past
I
that?
got a few more, so why don't you
Go ahead.
Okay, well, it's just basically, just recollect, we talked about tax sale, we talked about,
We're gonna outsource it. And
Okay.
We're gonna have somebody do it.
and roughly how many did we have there? I think 15, was it, we were talking?
Gene?
Roughly 15.
Between the
It
town
may
and the
have
village.
gone down.
Yep.
We have more delinquencies than that. Those are just the
Current.
accounts that are eligible for tax sale. Not all of them are eligible. If they're in an agreement and paying
Right.
or making an effort, they're not in tax sale.
And just
Okay.
one other question, Jigs, to you, how are we doing as far as water and sewer payments and stuff?
Good.
Like, really? Okay.
Yeah, we are in good shape. As a reference to previous years, we actually have less delinquencies this year than we have.
Okay, great,
Okay.
thank you.
At the annual, it was 35,000 in water and wastewater delinquent.
So a significant portion of that is for fire protection from district number 5.
5.
And they don't have water come up. It's just for their fire protection. So we can talk about that. We can talk about litigation, but I know it'll end up costing us more in attorneys than what we collect. on what's owed from it.
Well, wasn't there some discussion last year that we had, and there was a $36,000 outstanding balance?
That's a different, that's a different agreement, and that's for water or sewer that we provide to North Westminster.
Westminster, yep.
And they are again behind on their bills, but we're in contact with them and they're working to pay it. So they collect from their taxpayers or users and then pay us.
Right.
It is not 36,000.
Well, I thought some of that involved the fire
Two-
service fee that we turned.
Two totally separate agreements.
Okay, could you bring us up to date on what's the amount with both of those?
So the North Westminster is 1/4, they're not even 1/4 delinquent. They just pay as they collect from their
Right.
users and they pay us. So it's less than $18,000, but they're not 18,000 behind because they've been making payments on
Right.
that. And we're in contact and communication with them. The fire protection that we're discussing is that we cannot find, this is well before any of our time, we cannot find the agreements that were signed with these customers for fire protection. And so their bills just keep increasing and increasing and increasing. It's just fire protection, so there's no water to turn off to incentivize them to pay. We could take legal action, but that will be a hefty legal bill.
Well, that's right, there was some within proximity of a hydrant.
So
but
this is the other thing, there's
yeah.
two different, and the chief can speak to this too, there's two different interpretations. So one is 1,000 feet from
Right.
the house to the hydrant, and one is 1,000 feet by road. So there are some accounts that feel that they don't owe it at all because of the proximity from their house to the hydrant or to the road. So there's a variety of issues there.
And also, since, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we had this discussion, I think three of us had sat here with North Westminster when they came in, reference billing, and then there was some discussion that we would take, there was discussion whether or not the village corporation from Bellows Falls would take over the billing, and I'm still in the same position as then, is that it would not behoove us to do that. Because right now, it's the town of Westminster that pays us. It's not those individuals.
I completely agree with you.
Right.
My recommendation
Right.
would be to let them
Stay where we are.
Trying to bring
do their
my
own.
two new colleagues up
Yeah,
to speed.
to let them do their own billing, and
Westminster
North
too.
Westminster's responsible to us to pay that bill,
Right.
and they can go collect from their users.
That way we're not into playing
Into
collection.
collection, yeah. I want to let Jakes finish
Sure,
on
that's
those
fine.
items.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
Jakes.
Okay. On page 3, this is one that I think it's just there to get my tackles up. But, on the auditor fee,
That's part of an entry. I just need to make an entry.
so the correct number is 7.
Correct.
Okay. All right. A little bit further down, the IT outside support. I was under the impression that that was a contract that we had.
It is a contract, but there are other things that, depending on situations and things that go on, that there's additional billing.
So that's why it's $5,400 over.
For these other services.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think when we're budgeting, if that's the fact, where we know we're gonna have excess, charges other than the contract, then we ought to budget. So I'm concerned about that.
I think that contract's up, isn't it?
It is coming up in
Coming up
December.
this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and we considered looking at others
Right.
for the future.
We did get
On the-
preliminary numbers for looking at it.
Okay.
It'll be difficult to find something.
Yeah, I bet, yeah. Okay, Jakes, go ahead.
The village attorney, do you have all those bills in at this point, do you think?
We still have the bill from the police investigation that will be entered tomorrow.
But that's not a
Not under this.
village attorney, that's not village attorney. right?
That is village attorney. That
So
is village
that's where they
attorney.
put it.
Really?
And will that be booked in FY20 or FY21?
FY20.
It
So
wouldn't
it's gonna be in
other-
here.
It wouldn't be other professional services? I don't,
Oh, we could put in other professionals.
Well, I think I think we all associate the village attorney with the village attorney.
Yeah.
So if the,
Oh, I see
if
what you're
there's-
saying.
you know what I'm saying, if there's
Right,
fees that go to other attorneys.
sure, I can break that out.
You know,
That makes sense.
the,
Yeah. I get
But
what
it's,
you're
we're
saying.
already over budget in that section.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna be more over
We're
budget.
gonna be more.
Wasn't that the bill I asked you about a while ago? Or did you just get it?
We just got it.
Yep.
Page 4, it shows the repairs to for the public safety building. What about the article? Did we spend the article as well? Or would that have all shown up on this line?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Oh, repairs on
This is,
page 4, yeah.
Under public safety building on page 4.
So all of it goes into this line item, and that includes the article.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now, the other one is kind of my back of the envelope analysis.
Okay.
Okay.
What page you on, Jigs?
I'm on page 6.
Oh, it's, it's on wastewater or water?
This is on the police.
Oh, my mistake. Police, okay.
And I'm doing this primarily for the benefit of Chuck and for Shannon and also for the education of the board. If you look at the bottom line, I think the police department is about $200,000 under budget. A big chunk of that is the benefits because we didn't have full employment. There was the police vehicle of $32,000, I think, that wasn't spent. So, yeah. If you look at the salary account, okay, which is the police payroll, and you look at the chief salary, the full-time officers, the dispatcher, and the overtime, and the differential pay, okay? Our budget was $550,000 roughly. We spent $495,000. So we were about $55,000 to the good, that's all, okay? If you then look over on the dispatcher item on the next page, which is what we paid the sheriff to cover our dispatch.
Oh, yeah.
We had a budget of $97,000, we spent $131,000. So on the salary number, the people costs, we were $23,000 under budget.
I show a police payroll budget of 609.
That's what we budgeted.
No, back those.
No,
Right, I didn't include
Right.
I didn't include the part-time officers.
right, you were just covering
I
certain
didn't put
lines.
Part-time on either one. I said
Okay.
the police officers, the chief, the dispatcher, and what I think that highlights is the way the labor costs in the police department were managed last year. We can't tolerate that this year. We cannot tolerate that this year. And as I've said, we haven't seen an overtime report for a month or so. And so I don't think the trend is, I think the trend is better, but it's not where it has to be, okay? As I said, we did hire a new officer. If we hire a new chief, we will be at full staff. Okay? Full staff.
Shannon?
I just want to make 2 comments. So, out of this budget for the actuals that you guys are looking at, not to say that overtime wasn't mismanaged for part of the year. However, we do have to consider that there are sometimes one-off instances. So, for instance, we were paying 2 chiefs for 3 months of this year because in our budgets, we go penny by penny. So if we say our chief's salary is going to be this, and in July he's getting a 2% increase, it's exactly to the penny. that does not allow for us to have a position that can't be backfilled, that we have to bring somebody in for. So we had two police chiefs that we were paying for 3 months of this year. There's nothing you can do in a situation like that. We also had,
But if the police chief was a sergeant, okay?
I'm getting there.
Then
I'm getting there. So the other issue is that for quite a while, we had a full-time officer that we were paying that was on administrative leave.
Right.
And so those are one-off situations where that's significant savings that we would have had in this budget. The chief's salary is much more than a sergeant's, if you're just looking at the sergeant line. So there are one-off situations in this budget, and that's why my recommendation is not to budget to the penny or line by line so specifically like you do, especially with a small budget, but to look at sections as a whole and let the department heads manage
That's exactly what I've done. And what I've said is that
But we had those two circumstances where you have to take those into an account. We had almost 4.5 months of paying a police officer that wasn't working and paying the overtime for his colleagues to fill the shifts where we couldn't replace him yet. We also we were paying 2 chiefs. There's just situations in here that they were beyond our control.
Can you explain that the dispatcher budget was 46.5?
When someone resigns or if someone resigns or is fired, they are able to cash out their vacation and their comp time.
Yep.
So whatever's in their bank.
And you started a new dispatcher prior.
And, right, we
to
started a
the
new
end of the
dispatcher
fiscal
prior
year.
to July 1st. And, yes, it's just, that's the problem with budgeting to the penny this way, is that,
In a normal year, that's not a problem.
well, I
Unless
mean, if
something
anybody
unusual's happened.
resigns, that will, in effect,
Yeah,
if there's only one employee on that line, so for the highway
Wait a minute.
department where there's 12
When
employees.
we budget, you said we budget to the penny.
We do.
We don't, we receive numbers from you and the manager, okay?
This can be a budget conversation because I don't,
But I think that, what I'm saying is, this is a,
I asked for more money in the dispatch
Wait,
line this
this is a-
very year.
Please, Shannon, let him finish,
And
and
you
then you
guys
can...
said no. I asked for it for that specific reason. I said, and you guys said, we're not paying any more than, 46.5, so I don't want to put any more in that line item. But I did bring that to the table at budget time. I did say, not like a buffer, but I did say, the way we're budgeting makes it difficult. We're not going to just use it whether or not we need it, but there are situations beyond our control. In the highway department where we have 9 employees, we have a little leeway there. In
Well-
the police department with full-time officers, we have some leeway. But if there's, like my line item specifically, if I were to resign today and you had to cash me out, it would be over for the year if you filled my position. And that's
I'd like to let Jigs finish what he's saying first.
I am being critical of the management of the police salary budget for last year. And I hear your excuses, and I'm not accepting them. I understand the various entries, but this is a criticism, and I want it to be recorded as a criticism.
Chuck?
I think Jiggs has a good set of points. I would like all trustees to see some of these numbers. They are not small numbers when you decide to pay out a chief, their remaining vacation. You need to see what he's talking about in detail. Paying officers to be at home, those are very large numbers. I didn't appreciate it until I saw that, so we'll get that information to you.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear.
The information here.
We did not offer to pay a chief out. The chief resigned. He retired.
But those
Therefore,
things
we had to.
happen.
Those things happen, and there's
Thank
been a
you.
number of turnover issues and problematic issues in
And
this
how they were
particular
handled.
department and how they were handled, which is for past was a past understanding. I'd like to know, have you booked every item in this budget area? Is everything booked here? So we're not going to be moving
Correct.
beyond 89.39%
Correct.
of this section?
Correct.
That's what I'm trying to check. So you talked about other stuff that hasn't been
Right,
booked.
other
I want to make
stuff,
sure
but
that's booked.
payroll-
So we won't see movement in that now. Okay.
So that's a done deal.
That
is
part's a done deal. Does anyone here else have questions about the budget besides, do you still have more stuff?
No, I'm done.
Okay, okay, it's just checking. Jeff, wait a second, please.
I have a couple, but I'm gonna come in and see you someday. They're
Okay.
just generic, just
Okay.
for my own interest.
Okay.
Stephanie, did you have anything?
Nope, we're good.
Okay.
Behind you.
Yeah, Gaetano, give me a second, Jim. Go ahead, Gaetano.
I don't know. In reference to that last discussion, how things are handled by staff or management has nothing to do with the finance manager's position. I'm confused by taking it out on that position, the things that seem strange to me.
This is-
lame.
This is a criticism of the manager,
It didn't sound that
management,
way.
manager, and personnel management.
Okay.
Okay?
Come on.
So it had nothing to do with the finance staff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is management.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Was that what you wanted to know?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
to understand. All right. Mr. Mitchell, you wanted to speak?
Yes. You need to put the blame where the blame belongs. We had an honest police officer that went to the previous town manager and complained about corruption. Then the next thing you know, we have a police chief who had hired that officer, retiring, and writing nasty letters to the state attorney about it. And that's why that man was on paid leave for 4 months. You forced him out of there. So the blame goes right back to the police department, to Ron Lake, and to Wendy Harrison. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Before we move off the budget, one of the things I wanted to ask about was moving to a process that used to be done concerning water and wastewater, which is small claims. I would like us to give that consideration. It can be done very inexpensively and all done once a month. I believe Mr. O'Connor, when he was the finance director, used to process small claims all together and once a month would take them to the courthouse and deal with them. And even just people knowing that they're going to go to small claims court is a reason for them to pay
So we
or
only
make an
have
agreement to
3
pay.
Other than the fire protection accounts?
Yep.
Right now, we only have 3 accounts that, due to COVID, we couldn't shut them off, but we only have 3 accounts that we would have shut off.
Uh-huh. But what about the fire protection? They're being provided a service that we would have to provide if they had to utilize that. So why are we taking them to small claims court to get our money? It doesn't make sense to me why we're not doing that. I mean, I have to stay up on my bills. Everyone else here does.
Yeah.
They need to too.
Sure, there's a book that actually explains each account, and we can review that if you want. When you come in, we can.
Okay, we'll go over it then. I just think that we used to do it in the past. There's no reason why we aren't doing that now. Remove the fire plugs, yeah, but if they're not... Okay, speak to Sean about that. Okay, we're going to be taking out some fire hydrants.
Has nothing to do with it. That's all water department.
Oh, that's right.
That's the water department.
I think the last...
It actually creates a lot of confusion because it says fire protection fee, but it
That's
has
true,
nothing to do with
but it isn't, it's water, yeah. Thank you. And that's helpful, because the public knows that too now. Setting the village tax rate is one of the things we have to do this
So
evening.
I sent you guys an updated
Yep.
tax rate based on the
There
actual
we go.
plan list. So we can-
Shane,
this is how we made the
I
motion.
believe that's the accurate one compared to the one that
Is it the 5498? Is that the one? Yeah, that's the last one you sent, the updated one.
went out via email.
Right, the email that went out.
Yes.
That's the one, that's the correct one, yep. So, unless, well, we can have discussion after, I need a motion to set the tax rate.
Well, I can sign up with a hard copy. and
Sure.
print that. I'll go ahead and make the motion if that's all right.
Yep.
I'll make the motion that the Bellows Falls Village Corporation set the municipal tax rate as .5498 for fiscal year 2021.
Need a
I'll
second?
second.
Okay. Discussion. I want people to understand in the public how much we have reduced. This is a decrease of .0955, which is what, how many thousands?
Almost nine.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars this is.
About 9 cents, was it?
Yep, but 9 cents. Well, over 9 cents. It's almost 10 cents.
What was it last year?
The previous,
0.6554.
yep. And now it's .5498. It's a significant decrease.
With just a slight increase in.
Is it $300,000 less? Is that what we're looking at? Something
It's
like
about
that?
250.
250, okay.
Which is at 2.5 million.
Right, that's a significant amount. That hasn't been done in quite a while. I'm looking at where it was the same. The last year it was that rate. It was 2009. So it's been 11 years. Well, 12, if it's FY21. Any further discussion on the saying the tax rate?
Yeah, but,
Oh, yes, do I? Okay. Is there a
No,
hand back
good.
there?
Okay.
Yes, no? Okay. All right. Hearing nothing further, all those with the motion in mind, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have set the tax rate for the year. Thank you for all the hard work in getting there from everybody. What's next? Next, to review agenda items.
You added a separate item.
What did I do?
The discussion of the Australian ballot or something?
Oh, yes, that was
No,
one.
that
And it's, but it's, you know what? I didn't add it at the beginning, and
No, it was, we done-
We added it
that's
in.
the revised one. Okay.
Yeah, that's the
All right.
revised
I'm
agenda.
not looking at that. Yes, which is to talk. Right. It's yeah, was to talk about the aftermath of our village meeting. Is that the voters did vote in favor of doing budgets annually by Australian ballot. I went back to the charter, and we have the allowance to do that. It'll be a little juggling, but I just want us to be aware that we will be doing that from now on, as it was set. We'll have to consider when we want to have a meeting, an annual meeting, to give people an opportunity to speak on the motion with significant enough time to post the set rate, whatever that annual budget's going to be if it hasn't been changed by the voters, to get it printed and then submitted and released in the annual report so people have a chance to look at that, I think 2 weeks before the annual meeting. So we will be looking at that as we move further, especially when we get to a budget season, which will be January, I think, of 2021. That was it. Anything else on that, people understand? I just want to make sure people are aware that was voted on and it was in favor. So we will be doing that moving forward. Now reviewing agenda items for the next meeting, which is August 11th, as we're on the summer schedule.
August.
Does anyone have anything at this point they want added to the? You can send me agenda items if you want to. You have something?
The executive session on the health insurance snafu.
You want that tonight?
No.
Okay, so an executive session on August 11th about to review the health insurance.
snafu.
Well, I don't want to call it a snafu because that means something specific, right? So, okay.
And I would invite village council.
So the history on the health insurance change that we had this year. And we need village council for that. So that'd be for next meeting in August. And again, anything else you want added to the agenda, please submit them to myself and to Chuck. Moving on, agenda items for the next joint board meeting. Oh, never mind. It says TBD.
My opinion is that once the manager search gets to a point where we need to call a meeting, then we're going to do that.
Let's call a meeting,
And
right.
I expect that to be earlier than planned, and that will be a singular agenda item to look for your new municipal manager.
Yeah, I'm not sure when the next time we have 5 Tuesdays in the month, but it doesn't matter if we need to have one sooner.
No, this is going to draw a priority.
Yeah, of course. Review the orders, bills, and warrants.
Motion to approve the orders, bills, and warrants is circulated here tonight.
I'll second that.
All right. Any conversation or discussion on the orders, bills, and warrants? Nope. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, it's passed. Other business. Move down the table, Jeff. Wade.
I had to point it out. Well, actually, I noticed it. Plus, I had it pointed out to me. On the south end of the village, coming in across the bridge, the brush and vines, and you cannot see the fence there. And up on the bank is the Bellows Falls, Welcome to Bellows Falls sign that unless you peek through the brush just right, you can't see it. I don't know who owns them. Do we own them?
Where were you talking? Where's the sign? Oh, in Walpole?
No, no,
no,
coming in
not that
from
one.
Westminster.
Coming in from Westminster?
Yep.
Yes, it's an issue every year, and I'm assuming
Not to
we own that
mention
sign.
that that whole area along through there is a mess.
We have a personal interest in getting after that brush. Stay tuned. It's on our radar.
And the sign you can just barely see.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, I wanted to be sure somehow I missed thinking it was the one in Walpole, and that's a problem because the train, railroad actually owns that property, and in order you have to get permission, and we have to have a permit for that.
So you're not aware of this one because you can't see it.
Yeah, you can't see it. That's right.
But Chuck,
I'll take a
Yeah.
look at it tomorrow at recycling.
Who actually owns them signs?
I think we do.
We do?
I
If
do.
it's got our name on it, right? It would be village property.
Yes.
Well, somebody told me the KSC did it.
Oh, that they did it?
Years
Submitted
back.
Their property, or is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
But
They
this
might
was
have-
sold to a gentleman that used to have insurance and used to live in Saxon River.
or I believe Ryan stated.
Ryan Ostabo.
Okay, awesome.
He went up there.
Oh. But unfortunately,
Once.
he can't do it.
Can't do it anymore.
No.
I'm talking.
Steph, do you have anything?
No, we're good.
I'm good. Oh, wait, I'm not good. But, go ahead, do you have anything?
I've got.
Go ahead.
First of all, as you see, most of us are wearing masks. And I just, we decided a couple of meetings ago not to put an ordinance or whatever you do to wear masks. But I think if you're paying attention, you're seeing what's happening. Thank God not so much in Vermont, although I guess there was a recent uptick in Manchester. But please wear masks. And I think carrying with you, and when we're with other people or near other people, please wear masks. The other thing I wanted to call attention, since I'm picking the scab here tonight, is we had the police call list. Okay, we didn't have it on the agenda, but we got it in the back. There's 10 pages, there's probably 20 items a page. These are issues for the month. There was one item on page 3 of 10, which on June 24th was an overdose. Okay? That's the closest thing to drug-related policing activity during this period. And if you listen to people, if you participate on the police search committee, the residents that are on that committee, the people that talk to us, talk about the drug problem in Bellows Falls. And what we need to do as trustees in order to raise the conscious level of the police department to do something. Obviously, we want you to respond to an overdose, but we want to get rid of people in our village that sell drugs. And, to not see any activity on our call sheets is, to me, very telling. And I just want to make that point.
Well,
Appreciate that.
I believe we're going to have an executive session here this evening, and I believe there may be a topic.
I forgot one thing.
Oh, you got me,
Can I say it?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I just wanted to, not really say thank you, but just recognize the fire department for operating safe and sound at the most recent structure fire that we had, I don't know, 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago. Fire got put out, nobody got hurt, and just, job well done by everybody that came in for that, including our surrounding neighbors that came to help us.
Thank you.
That's a tight neighborhood. We had a lot of older buildings. What I want to cover, I think Jake's took the storm away, is the Manchester hotspot that's turned up recently with, I saw something from a nurse talking about Londonderry that they had 41 cases and up and going on up. And that I know that Manchester's been talked about in the news and so on and so forth. So that happened just from something as simple as a ball game. And I know we all want to get back to normal. We want the picnics, we want the party, we want the sports, we want all of that. But in reality, we're still not safe. And we all need to remember to wear our masks when we get to businesses, to not go to large gatherings, to stick with your circle of friends, the ones you've had since March or something. Your best interest and your children's best interest, especially if they're going to really go back to school, is to stay safe, stay small, wear a mask, and make sure you keep extras. I throw extras in the car. We have extras at my office. If anybody wants some, please come over. We make sure that we have all of our employees, so we always have to keep extras. But please be safe. We don't want to see this here. I think Bellows Falls, Rockingham, have done a great job. People safe. Our best interests. When you go into stores, when you meet your friends, please have a mask on and stay safe. That's everything. And now we are going to move to executive session. And the purpose, which will be contracts and employees. So, mainly contracts. And I have the pricing.
Okay, well, we got a card here if you can see it.
There it is. Oh, you got that? Okay.
Well, yeah.
Would you like to do the honors?
Well, I guess I could.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to make a motion that and well, who are we going to invite into this session to start with? Let's clarify that.
You could ask the manager
Initially, or?
initially into the session.
Okay.
And then move on.
All right, I'm going to make a motion that we enter into an executive session and invite into that session the municipal manager, Chuck Wise, to discuss contracts and personnel where premature general knowledge may clearly place the municipality at a substantial disadvantage, I believe per 1 VSA 313A1. And do I need a follow-up, or am I good?
For contracts, that one we don't need
I-
this. We do need a second motion on that, so.
We do or don't?
We do.
We do?
But,
Um,
so, who has to pass this one?
well-
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, now,
Okay, I move that the board enter into executive session to discuss contracts where premature general knowledge may clearly place the municipality at a substantial disadvantage per Vermont State
Thanks.
Statute Title 1313A1.
Thank you.
second?
If I have it correct?
Where's please at, though?
I believe so.
Yes. Okay, and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.